50 bill sack from Pulse into pulsex on the last day of sack. Not fudge. Genuine query of what that was. Why the sounds? Oh, there's not really silence on it. It's if you look at the pulse chain sacrifice as well, there was a large sacrifice on the last non-volume days of the sacrifice as well. And what it comes down to is basically that's the OA getting around 90% of the supply. Similar to how Hex got, there's the OA who owns around, they say 50 to 90% of the supply. And that's been amazing for price. Like when you have someone who has a large amount of something, they're more likely to want to see that do well. Like whenever you start a company, like in like say Tesla or Jeff Bezos with Amazon, they owned 100% at one point. And then over time, they get diluted, they reduce their size, but they have the most in it to see it do well. And so I think it aligns incentives and it also discourages any other whales in the system who are going to have such a lower amount of the total supply that they're not really likely to get away with any sort of, you know, crypto games or manipulation because there's always that larger entity who has more funds than them to be able to buy up their position if they're trying to suppress the price too much or do something terrible like hurt their own. If they hurt their own bags too much, eventually they're just sold out and they're gone. But I like how this has worked out for the Hex ecosystem by having a large supply owned by an entity that is benevolent, and it's been working out for Hex. So I think that's the same idea with Pulse Chain and pulsex. There's around 90% owned by. It's not the same. We don't know if it's the same OA person or whatever, but yeah, they own a large percentage. I think it makes the incentives aligned in a good way. A lot of people think, oh no, it's not decentralized. It's not like they own. Like if you own a lot of Ethereum, like Vitalik, he wants to see Ethereum succeed. I think if someone owns a large portion of Hex, they want to see Hex succeed because they stand to gain. It's a problem with Bitcoin. Well, people say it's the most decentralized. Well, is that good for price? Because they still have 85% drops every 4 years, just like everything else. But they get less gains every few years as well. So they're getting less gains, but they still drop just as much. Oh, and they're the most decentralized as well for ownership. Because I think 42% of all Bitcoin is 42% of all Bitcoin is held by 2,000 addresses. And so is that, if that's the most decentralized we can get, it's like, well, apparently that's not good for price performance. So why do we care so much? It's actually a downside, in my opinion, to not have an entity who has a large enough stake who can make money onboarding more people. So that's the problem with Bitcoin is nobody can make money onboarding people to Bitcoin because you getting another guy to put in even $1 million into Bitcoin does nothing for the price. And so you spend all this time, you spend $100 getting that guy onboarded, you're never going to see that $100 return. Whereas maybe an entity who has 90% of a supply could actually make profit profit positive onboarding new users because they own a large enough percent. That's how I look at it.